What is up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we've got a review of Evanescence and their new album, The Bitter Truth, via BMG. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. Evanescence is a group originally formed in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1995 by vocalist and pianist Amy Lee and guitarist Ben Moody. This band hit it big with their first album Fallen in 2003 with several big singles including Bring Me to Life. And I don't know about you all, but I could not escape that fucking song.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
And that's not to say that I hated it either. It was extremely catchy. It definitely got me interested in the band, and I listened to it over and over, sometimes by choice, often not by choice because the radio could not stop playing it. Overall, I would say I've never been a huge fan of this band, but when I heard they had new music coming out and I heard the first single, I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting, so I thought I'd check it out. So speaking of which, Better Without You is how they led this thing off. It's a pretty solid single. Very moody vibe on this one. I was impressed with just like how much their sound has developed and understand the context of me coming at this as somebody who has missed a large chunk of their progression over the years. But yeah, I'm impressed. Very lovely piano on this one. Very passionate vocals. It seems like Amy is just a very genuine person. Like if nothing else, like even going back to the earlier stuff, and it's clear that they've moved a long way from like the new metal kind of alternative metal crowd that they used to run with, that Amy has just always been very talented. And the band has grown so much, and I have a lot to say about that as we get into the other tracks. But particularly on this one, I like how sparingly the guitar is used, and it really makes it a kind of like industrial rock vibe pop on this one. It's got a really cool riff, and speaking of which, same goes for Feeding in the Dark. This one has some kind of like spooky Nine Inch Nails energy, and again, goddamn, that guitar riff just gets its hooks in you. It is so damn catchy, so infectious. I could not stop just sort of jamming along to it. It made me want to like pick up my guitar and learn it, and it's a simple thing. Like I'm sure I could learn that riff in like 5 minutes, but that's not the point. The point is that it's just really well composed. It fits well into the song, the way that's arranged with the rest of the music and the electronic elements that are very strong on this one. It all comes together just to form a really solid pop song. I will say that this track gets a little bit more generic as it wears on, but there are much stronger ones to get into still.
Stick around.
One of the main events here is definitely Broken Pieces. Again, I love the guitar breaks on this one. There are all these like great little kind of start-stop things where the drums really kick up. And that's another big highlight that I was not expecting on this album, was that the drums are fantastic. Again, they're not particularly like crazy or complex, but they're just well produced, well mixed into the sound and the way that they're arranged with the other instruments. And again, especially like this song is a great example of where the guitar kind of leaves an empty void for the drums to really make an impact. Again, lots of feeling on this song, very catchy vocals too, with great melodies to carry them along, get me want to sing along very early on. Honestly, what I'm hearing here with some of these songs is more on par with kind of like classic symphonic metal groups like Epica. It's not quite to that level, but I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that I would definitely group this album more in with those groups than I would with any of the groups I would have back in the day. And I have similar thoughts too on the piano and string-driven Far From Heaven. That is a beautiful, just soulful thing. And then the expansive symphonic follow-up to that one with Part of Me and the big closer Blind Belief. Pretty stunning stuff. Those three tracks in particular, like the way that they form the end of the album is just, oof, fantastic. Great work. More on the drum side, we've got Take Cover. Drums on this track, man. They are just pounding, and I love just how minimalist the intro is too. And again, it gives some of this stuff real space to kind of breathe. Again, not crazy, just really well implemented to the point that it's kind of dancey, honestly. It like gets me want to get my body moving, and I kind of was too. As corny as that sounds, it gets under your skin. Also, more electronic elements on this one, and they never sound cheesy either. Like they are very well woven into the overall compositions and just feel like they fit like a glove. For other specific instrument highlights, The Game Is Over stood out too. Another one with a very minimalist intro. This one this time highlights the crunchy bass sound. It sounds so gnarly. I love it. It's not like super crushing or anything like I've described in a lot of the heavier albums that I cover, but nonetheless, like, it stands out. You'll notice it for sure. More infectious head bobbing, start stop energy on this one too. Couldn't help but get moving. There's a real sense of immediacy and tension on this one too. It kind of raises your anxiety a little bit, but you've got this big catharsis too, especially when there's this big groovy bridge riff with the guitar, and that's like, you release. Yeah, this track was an early favorite for me going in for sure. And then there's also some much poppier tracks too, like Yeah Right. This one straight up sounds like Muse. Like, it has that same bouncy, bassy electronic energy to it. It actually sounds a lot like the beginning of Uprising. I'll bet if you played those two tracks side by side, you definitely, they might even align, like, almost perfectly. I'm not sure how well it fits into the flow of the rest of the album, but it is a fun song. Like I said, more pop energy on this one. Definitely catchy though, just a little bit too bubblegummy for me maybe on this one. Not one of my favorites. Another thought that did pop into my head though was like, wouldn't this song or a song like this be great for a duet with Poppy? I'd be down for that shit. Use My Voice is a little on the pop side too. More great echoing drums on this one. They just sound fantastic. And then lots of fun whoa whoa whoas going on. And then some more like kind of wispy backup vocals on this one too. In the vein of sort of like, it was like a cross between Mercure and Enya. Was what I kept thinking of. And I have not thought of Enya in so long, but I grew up with that because my mom would play it like whenever she was cleaning the house and I wanted to drill my brains out, but it's still there in the back of my brain.
I can't take it anymore. This music is terrible. It's cheesy but lame and eerily soothing at the same time.
So yeah, overall, I was actually quite surprised at how much I enjoyed this album. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Music is great. Compositionally, it's great. It's not particularly like wild again. It's not the most exciting new thing, but it's well done. I think my biggest complaint, honestly, is the cover art. I just think that this is super lame in comparison to the music. Like, I get what they're going for, but it feels like it thinks it's more clever than it actually is. And ultimately, the music is just too mature for such an adolescent-looking artwork. It kind of reminds me of the cover of that Saliva album, now that I'm thinking of it. It's still, like, harkening back to sort of that nu metal era, and as much as I love that old nu metal stuff, there is a lot of cringe coming out of there. I don't think I want to necessarily allude to that, especially with my artwork. But turning to my scales, I give this a 9 for enjoyability. Yeah, had a good time straight through. Didn't really have any points where I was like really put off. Again, yeah, right, I was kind of like surprised, but I still had a good time with it. It's definitely not a 10, but it was up there. I give it an 8 for musicianship. In terms of the songwriting and compositions, like, that is where this really shines. But I couldn't really give it much higher than a B in this area, given that, again, there's nothing too crazy going on. If you're a musician, there's nothing to really sink your teeth into. On the flip side, this is exactly the type of album that as a teenager, when I was learning to play guitar, was perfect for me, because it was pretty easy to find tabs and just listen to it and figure it out pretty quickly and then kind of progress on from there. But yeah, you're not going to find anything crazy, flashy, or technical. But performance-wise, though, really solid. And Amy, of course, her voice just sounds fantastic. And I give it a 7 for innovation. Again, nothing too exciting here, just in terms of hearing something new, but it was enjoyable. It's a good time. If you're an Evanescence fan, you're probably really going to enjoy this. If you're not an Evanescence fan, you might still enjoy it, just like I did. So yeah, overall, we're looking at a flat 8 and a B- for The Bitter Truth and Evanescence. Get it once more via BMG. Y'all, thanks as always for watching, and let me know down in the comments, what did you think of this album? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Are you a long-time Evanescence fan? If so, what's your favorite Evanescence album? And hey, stick around because I got plenty more videos coming right after this one. Plenty more album reviews, interviews, tier lists, you name it, we got it. So plenty of reasons to subscribe if you have not already. My goal is ultimately to push out to you music that you haven't heard, that is of new interest to you. So I will do these big tentpole reviews for albums that are more mainstream that I'm interested in, but then I also want to turn you around and be like, look at this, look at this other thing that's interesting. And then also support on Patreon really makes a difference. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.